Hello, hello. This video is designed to introduce you to the very, I mean it, very basics of something called harmonics analysis, which is a way of analyzing the chord structures of songs to reveal certain communication practices that are going on in the chord structures in relation to the lyrics in the song. And the goal of this for our class is to show another way that songs communicate with audiences, whether they're really aware of it or not. Musicians who know what they're doing when they're writing music incorporate certain practices to elicit certain responses from audiences, and they often do that through the chord progressions. And we're going to be analyzing that a little bit this semester. Now, I say the very, very basics because this can get extraordinarily complicated. If you were in class and you have studied musicology, which I know several of you have, you might say, Bill, you know, this is really basic. And I say, yeah, I know, it's really basic. It's very, very basic. Okay, and the songs that we're going to be looking at when we're discussing this are going to be pretty basic as well. So you're not going to be expected to do anything too complicated. The goal is just really to introduce you to something cool and interesting, and just to give you a little bit of something new to come away with beyond what we're talking about in class. Now, this video, you can imagine this is a whiteboard like in the classroom. I'm using Photoshop to do this work, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, it is designed to complement some instructions, these harmonics analysis basics, and we sort of go over a little bit about different things, and then give you certain steps along the way to do this work. I'm not going to be going through this handout step by step, but this handout is available on the course website on the readings and text page under Harmonics Analysis. You will see the Harmonics Analysis instructions. I will also add a link to these on the course website as well. I will be putting them in the quick links up here so that you can find them easier. Now, this process requires you to use two additional documents, the circle of fifths and the note resolution chart. This is what the circle of fifths look like. I will explain it to you what that means in a little while. And the note resolution chart looks like this. Okay, and I have to thank my my friend and music instructor Frankie Price for helping explain a lot of this to me, and which I am now explaining to you. Okay. Alrighty, so let us get started. Where is my Photoshop button? Here we go. Okay. Now, in order to get started with this, we need to learn a few basics about sheet music. So here is some sample sheet music taken from a song I think many of us know, Take Me Home Country Roads. I'm not going to sing it right now, nor am I getting out my banjo right now, but maybe another time. Okay, not a protest song, so but that's okay because this will help illuminate certain things for us. Now, sheet music, a blank piece of sheet music is called a staff, but we don't have a blank one here. This is one that has notes and all sorts of other symbols in here, and we need to get to know a little bit about what they are. Okay. Now, sheet music is made up of lines. Okay, this is a line, this is a line, that is a line, and so on and so forth. So each one of these is a line. So we would talk about these things as lines. So this is line 1, line 2, line 3, and so on. They are also made up of measures. Measures are these little segments. Here you can indicate, and they break the lines down into little pieces. There are a certain number of notes per measure. Okay, and we can see the measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you count them off as you're going through. how many measures, how many notes per measure depends on your time signature. And the time signature here is right here. Okay? This one is in something called common time, which is also essentially 4/4, which means you're going to have 4 beats per measure. So let's see, we can find one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is this is 2 beat blank of a rest, and then 1, 2. So that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's the basics of the staff right there. Then we have a symbol right here called a clef. Now each staff has a clef, and there are a variety of different clefs. This is called the treble clef. There's a bass clef, there are other clefs. And the clefs are important because they determine what notes are reading when you're reading on the scale. Okay, so let me show you an example right here. So these are the notes that go along on the treble clef scale. So E is this on the bottom line here, F is in this space, G is right here on the line, A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. And you'll notice that there are 7 notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's important to remember. All right, so we can see that on our scale here that this is an A, this is an A, this is an A, this is an A, okay, they're all A's. This is a B, A, E, G, G, and so on and so forth. Different clefs have their notes in different locations on the scale. For our purposes in this class, we are just using the treble clef, so you don't need to know any of the other scales, nor do you really need to know the different notes and what they are. I'm not going to test you on that. It's just important to know what we're looking at when we're looking at this stuff. So I'm going to take the clef off so we can see other things. Oh, took off the wrong clef. There we go. And the last thing we have on here is the key signature. And the key signature is in this area here and consists of this little sharp notation, or what we would call a flat notation. And this helps you determine what key your song is in. And we need to know the key that the song is in order to do our harmonics analysis. And we're going to get back to this in a little while. This is where we're going to start using the circle of fifths, which I showed you earlier. Now, in addition to these symbols, we need to know a few other things about what we're seeing on the sheet music. Okay. First, we are seeing what we might call the melody. Okay. The melody consists of all the little notes. Whoops. The melody consists of all the little notes that you are seeing here. Dun 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 dun, so on and so forth. You don't need to hear me doing that ever again. Okay. Now the melody is essentially the succession of notes that are played, okay, by a variety of different instruments. Here, the sheet music that we're going to have one melody, and it's pretty much going to go along with the vocals to keep it nice and simple, okay? But that's what these notes form, are the melody. And the melody is basically leads the song through the song. It's the most memorable part of the song. And yeah, that's what we have in there, that little melody. Remember that. It's the most memorable part. We also have chords. Okay. This is a chord notation. This is a chord notation. This is a chord notation. Chords, bring up my definitions here so I don't get confused. Chords are two or more notes played at one time, and they're played with the melody. So they are often, you would hear them, if you're hearing a guitar, for example, as strums. So brum, 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 brum. That's the strum pattern. That's how it sounds like when you're doing a strum. Maybe I should have brought over the banjo. And so you're holding down different strings on the neck, and you're strumming brum, 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 brum. Okay? And these are played along with the melody. When you think of the chords as a whole, as a progression, together we call that the harmony of the song. And the harmony basically supports the melody. It allows, it goes along with it and it supports it. And it's the harmony that we analyze in harmonics analysis. You know, harmonics and harmony goes very well together. Okay? And when we're doing that, we are trying to understand this movement from one chord to the next, from G to E minor to D to C to G, or whatever the chords are in the song. And we call that movement from one chord to the next a cadence. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And so these are the basic parts of the sheet music that it's important for you to have a little bit of awareness of. The thing that we're going to be focusing on in our class and for our purposes are the chords. Okay. We might have to look at the notes a little bit depending on the song, but I doubt it considerably. Okay, so let me bring up the actual analysis and we'll go through that process. So I have wiped the board clean, as it were, and we're going to begin the analysis. And we're going to use the song We Shall Overcome. Okay, and this one is arranged by Pete Seeger, who was one of the people who are responsible for getting We Shall Overcome to Martin Luther King, and he changed We Will Overcome to We Shall Overcome, because he said it opens the mouth and allows air to come out. It's really quite nice. So we are going to need a piece of sheet music, and we're using We Shall Overcome because we're talking about freedom spirituals and freedom songs, and this is the one, right? This is the famous one from the Civil Rights Movement, so why not start with this one right here? Okay. We are also going to need the note resolution chart, the circle of fifths, and the note resolution chart. These three documents, circle of fifths, the sheet music we're going to use, and the note resolution chart, they all work in concert with one another when we are doing our harmonics analysis. I'm just going to move me up here for this part, because I'm going to use this area of the screen. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, and this is all laid out, I should recall, you don't need to remember all of this, this is all very much laid out in the harmonics instruction, okay? I'm not going to be continuing to bring this up, but you can refer to this if you would like while the video is going on, and then you will need to refer to it later on when you're doing this work this semester and you're practicing your analyses. The first thing we need to do is look for the key signature in here. And if you recall from Take Me Home Country Road, which I need to bring up here for now, if you recall from Take Me Home Country Road, the key signature was where we were looking for our sharps, okay, if you remember correctly. And we need to go and look to see if they are there. And they are always between the clef and the time signature. Clef, treble clef right here. This is common time, also 4/4. So we always look for the sharps or the flats in that space. Okay. Now some songs, like this one, as we're looking at it right here, they do not have, if we're looking for in the key signature right here, they do not have any sharps or flats, and that's okay. That's all right. It doesn't matter one way or the other. I can have 5 sharps, or 5 flats, or 0, or 3, or 2. It doesn't matter. We just need to know what they are. The first thing is looking for that. And then what we do is we go to the circle of fifths. And the circle of fifths helps us determine what key the song is in by when we count the number of sharps or flats. And the way it works is that C is when there are 0 sharps or flats. G is when there is 1 sharp. F is when there is 1 flat. D is when there are 2 sharps. A is 3 sharps. 4 is E, and so on. B flat would be 2 flats, 3, 4, and the same. Now it could either be C or A minor, G or E minor. These go hand in hand. Okay, it could be one or the other in these instances. So when we have 0 sharps or flats, we go to the 0 location on the circle of fifths, and it tells us that our song is most likely going to be in the key of C. Okay. Key of C. 0 sharps and flats, that indicates the 0. We go look here, we see a C. And what we do then is we look at the first chord and the last chord on the sheet music, and that will help us know as close as possible to short if the key is in that, if the song is in that key. Now we're not going to be looking at songs and doing analysis of songs that change key in the middle. Okay, so I know those of you who are more advanced could be saying, oh, but songs change keys. We're not going to be doing that. Again, very, very basics of this work. So here is C. And so we now know that the song is in the key of C. Okay? That's very exciting. Why is that exciting? That is exciting because now it helps us know what we need to do as we start to do our analysis, when we start to write things out. So the next step is that we actually have to write out our notes in a sequence, starting with C, starting with the 1 chord in this instance. And so that is a C. To move this down. I have to change this to black. Okay. Now you remember that we have 7 notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. When we're writing out our chords, we put them in order starting from the first chord. Okay. So C, D minor, E minor, F, G7, A minor, and B. And this is actually a diminished chord. The 7th becomes like that. The first, the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th are always, 6th, are always written as minor. Okay, and when we're analyzing a major scale, which is what we're doing right now. The 2nd, 3rd, and 5th, 6th are always written as minor chords. It's just the order of it. I'm not going to get into why. It just is what we need to understand it. And this is a diminished. I'm not going to get into that either. It's just what the proper notation is. And then we actually analyze. We start numbering them. And the notation is done in Roman numerals. Why? I don't know. It's just the way it is. It's kind of annoying because I like to write in regular Arabic numerals, and these are not those. So it becomes a little bit of a, you always have to sort of remember what it is that you're looking at. And I wrote that one wrong. It's 2. This is a 3. Okay, I'm losing my mind already. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, you see that. This is the 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord. Now, people who understand music, they use the chords in the key on purpose, and they put them in orders that are either pleasing or not pleasing on purpose. And if somebody takes and adds a chord that is not in the key, either they know what they're doing and they're doing it to cause all sorts of craziness, or they have no clue what they're doing and it's just a mistake. Okay? But when you learn music theory and you learn to write music properly, you understand the chord sequences and how chords go together. And if you look now, you begin to see that this note resolution chart is really a chord resolution chart. I think it should be called that. That certain chords go with other chords. So for example, 1 goes nicely anywhere. I can have a 1 chord connecting to a 2 chord or a 5 chord or a 7 chord. It could go anywhere. Certain chords do not, like 2, there's no arrow going from 2 to 6. Okay? And so when these chords go in the way that they go to on the note resolution chart, we say that those are resolved. Okay? Okay? When the cadence follows. And we say that when a chord goes in order or follows nicely along the arrows, we say that's the cadence follows. Remember, a cadence is from one chord to the next to the next. When it does not follow or is not resolved, the term is resolved from one to the next, that is when the cadence doesn't follow, we call that a harmonic elision. And harmonic elisions are used for a variety of different purposes, usually to create tension in the song, or to illuminate tension that is in the lyrics. Okay? So let's take a look and see what happens when we start to do an analysis of the cadences and the chord structure of We Shall Overcome. Now, we no longer need the note resolution, the circle of fifths. So I am going to take that away. Goodbye. What we do in this instance here is I like to start writing out the chords as they appear on the lines. So I'm going to start with I C, F, C, F. And that is line 1. Just going to move this down a little closer over here. C, F, C, F. Okay. Now I strongly recommend you do this on paper. It is much easier for me to do on paper. Doing it on here on Photoshop is actually quite awkward. And I also recommend you have printed versions of your note resolution chart and the sheet music and the circle of fifths so that you can write on these things. So here's another one, C, F. And what's really interesting is when you do this, you start pulling out patterns. We see all this C, F, C, F, C, F stuff going on there. G7, A minor, D minor. And look at this. Look what we're seeing already. We are starting to see chords that we expect. Remember, we wrote out this sequence, and I was saying how these are the chords that, if the person knows what they're doing, will appear in a song that is in the key of C. And look what we've got. We've got a G7, we've got an A minor, we've got a D minor, we have our Fs, and we have, of course, our one chord, which is our C. So we're seeing lots of things that we would expect, which is really kind of cool. All right, I'm going to do one more line. Now I've got a G, D minor, G7, C, F. Okay. Now, what we do next is we go underneath these and we put in the Roman numerals. So I have my 1, I have my 4, F is 4, C is 1, F is 4, C is, which one is it? 1, F is 4, G7 is 5, A minor is 6, D minor is 7, I'm sorry, D minor is 2, G is 5. The fact that it's not G7 is not a huge deal, so don't worry about that too much. D minor is 2, G7 is 5, C is 1, and F is, what is it? 4. Great. So now that we've written all of these out, each for these lines, and we can do it for the whole song, but no reason to go take too much time up for this video. What we want to do now is we want to determine whether the chords resolve or not. That is, do they follow the order that the note resolution chart suggests they should? And this is an order that has been around for hundreds of years. It's what humans have come to understand as pleasant sounding or not pleasant sounding, or resolved or not resolved in music. And there's a whole history behind this, which I'm not going to explain now. But this note resolution chart is what people use when they're writing music. So now what we want to do is we want to see if the chords resolve, if there is a lack of tension, if there is tension, and if there is tension or a lack of resolution, why is it? So I like to go basically back and forth to see how it works. This is why it's nice to have these things printed out, so you don't have to be going from one screen window to another screen window. You just have it all in one field of view. So 1 to 4, 1 can go anywhere. You see that right there? 1 can go anywhere. So I go 1 to 4. Yes, that resolves very nicely. It can go that way. Does 4 go to 1? I look for the 4, and look, there's an arrow right there. Don't forget to see these little arrows above and below. I sometimes miss them myself. 4 can go to 1. Very nice. Okay, 1 to 4, we just did that. Sure, 4 to 1. 1 to 4, 4 to 1. Look at that. A little pattern. 1 to 4, 4 to 4, 1 to 4, 4 to 1, 1 to 4, 4 to 1. It makes it easy to understand, and when there are patterns, we remember things. That's pretty cool. So it's right in there. And here's another one, 1 to 4. Okay, here's a new one, 4 to 5. 4 to 5. Yep, the arrow is right there, and there's the 5. So 4 could go either to 7 or to 5. It could be any of these two. So it does. Great. 5 go to 6. This is a 6. Can 5 go to 6? Yes, it can. Look at that right there. 5 can go to 6. Does 6 go to 2? Oh, brother, it's late. Does 6 go to 2? Yes, it does. 6 to 2. Right here. Here's the arrow for that. 6 to 2. Does 2 go to 5? It does. 2 goes to 5. We know that. We did that already. 2 does go to 5. Right there. Right? Just like the 4 does, the 5 does too. Okay. Does 5 go to 2? 5 to 2. No, it does not. 5 does not go to 2. That's really interesting. We have our first instance of a harmonic elision. The cadence does not follow the chart. does not follow the note resolution chart. All right, let's continue on to see if we see any others. Does 2 go to 5? 2 does go back to 5. And we know 5 goes to 1. Actually, 5 going to 1 is one of the strongest resolutions, and then 1 goes to 4. Okay, so that's really interesting that we see our first harmonic elision in this song. So that means that Pete Seeger, when he composed this version of the song, was creating some sort of tension. Now, there are several cadences, like I talked about. The cadence is when we go from one to the next to the next. I need to move this out of the way. Each grouping is called a cadence. Okay, that is called a cadence. This is a cadence, and so on. And certain cadences have names. So, for example, the Amen cadence is when we go from 4 to 1. 4 to 1. And we see that happening a lot in this song. 4 to 1. C, F to C. 4 to 1. F to C. 4 to 1. And the Amen cadence is named that way because it's also called the plagal cadence. But the popular term is Amen cadence, and it's found often in gospel music. And this is a gospel-inspired song. So we would expect to see that in here. And it's also a very feel-good sort of resolution. It just is a warm and comfortable. It's like at the end of a prayer, Amen, right? You just feel comfortable and warm, and it's just very pleasant sounding. It invites you into the song. And that's very much, why we see it in the beginning here. 1 to 4, 4 to 1, 4 to 1. We shall overcome. No one wants to hear me sing, especially when I have no voice and it's 10:49. It welcomes you into this song very, very nicely. And we can see that this sort of nice resolution comes through all the way through, right? Now we see also the deceptive cadence in this song, and that is 5 to 6. We see that right here, G7 to A minor. What this does is increases the energy. It gives you a little bit of burst of energy in the song. And the reason why is that 5 wants to go to 1. It just really does. It's a very powerful, what we would call actually the authentic cadence, especially at the end of a song when 5 goes to 1. When we have a deceptive cadence, 5 to 6, it gives us a little bit of burst of energy and helps the song continue onward. And here we're getting a little energy of, we're going to sing We Shall Overcome, and we're continuing on with the song. And we might see that, we see the G to A minor later in the song also. So with I do believe, it's giving us a little oomph right there, a little bit of power, which is really cool. So where, however, are we seeing this elision, where the 5 goes to 2? Okay, why is that happening? Why are we seeing tension at that moment? And I'm just going to write it like this, tension. The 5 goes from the G to the D minor. It's happening right here in this measure. G to D minor. We are seeing this take place, this harmonic elision in this moment. And the question becomes why? Why is this happening right here? What about this lyric, we shall overcome someday? Would you want to create a little bit of tension, a little bit of uncertainty? Why would we do that right there? When artists do this, and they do it deliberately and intentionally and purposefully. They call this word painting. When the words are connected to the cadences in the harmony, in the harmonics. And what I'd like you to think about for class is, why is Pete Seeger, adding a harmonic elision at this moment in the song? And we haven't looked at the rest of the song. You can, it doesn't look like there's any more harmonic elision in the rest of the song. You can see the CFCF coming all the way through. But why do we have it at this moment? And this is where the harmonic analysis is, the communication is taking place, where there is this moment where, like, what is going on right there? What is this communicating to us sonically in relation to the lyric? And why would the artist do that? And that's really up for our interpretation. And it's really quite wonderful when we start getting into it. This is a very small song, but there are other songs that we are going to be doing this with, and thinking about how is the songwriter and the composer communicating with us through the harmonies. So that's harmonic analysis. That's the kind of thing that we're going to be doing with some of our songs. You'll see it on the course schedule in the coming weeks that we're going to be doing this. There's a short little open book quiz that we're going to have, just a little fun little thing for you all to give you to go with. Go through the video again. You can find the sheet music for We Shall Overcome on the readings and text page, along with, it's right over here, We Shall Overcome. And give it a try. Go through this on your own. And we're going to go in class. We're going to do this one, and then we might do another one. Talk about this one, and then we'll talk about, I think, Lift Every Voice and Sing as well. Okay? So good luck with it. Have fun with it. I know it's a little convoluted on the screen over here, but hopefully if you watch the video again, you'll pick it up. And also, don't forget, there are these very detailed instructions that I've laid out for you that I'm going to ask you to look at in the homework. So have fun with it. I find this stuff really fascinating, and I hope you do as well. And I'll see you in class. See ya.